long weekend is just an excuse to get a long way from boring. With models up to 62 horsepower or room for 4. Go rugged, go big, go Gator.
Stop by our dealership for special offers taking place for a limited time. Get great deals and service on legendary John Deere equipment.
And welcome to the Georgia Southern Postgame Show. I'm your host, Josh Aubrey, being joined as always by Matt Yogas, the sports editor and Georgia Southern beat writer for the Statesboro Herald. Matt, we're here at Paulson Stadium where the Georgia Southern Eagles have won their first FBS game in the history of the program, knocking off Savannah State 83-9. Your thoughts on the big victory here? 599 yards of rushing, plenty of people scoring. Your thoughts?
Yeah, Josh, really you couldn't have asked anything more from Georgia Southern's offense. You got 2 receiving touchdowns by Contrell Showers, 10 rushing touchdowns scored by 8 different guys. Really, Georgia Southern could have won this game 150-0 if they wanted to. They pulled their starters after the first half. They only attempted 1 pass after the first quarter and really just ran the ball between the tackles for most of the game and just kept on scoring against an overmatched Savannah State team. And defensively, with the starters out there, they gave up 42 yards and no points and no first downs in the first half. So that's about all you can ask.
A big thing, that we saw this evening was we got to see Fabian Upshaw under center where he really did well.
Yeah, Fabian ran the ball as we expected plenty well. He threw a few passes, but he really shined with his legs, and I think that's his role in this offense, a good change of pace for Kevin Ellison, who, by the way, only had 2 pass attempts, but if you check the little stat software they have up in the press box, a 455 QB rating.
Does this change anything for the Eagles going into the Georgia Tech game? You think we'll see more of Fabian Upshaw because of the way he played this evening?
I don't know. I think Kevin Ellison was playing so well against NC State, they just kind of stuck with him. I think Fabian Upshaw has been a part of the game plan all season long. But if anything, sure, the coaching staff has more confidence in putting him out there to run the football, and he'll, I'm sure, be a part of the offense when they face Georgia Tech.
All right, well, without any further ado, let's get out and see some of the highlights from Georgia Southern's big win over Savannah State. The Georgia Southern Eagles hitting the field at the newly renovated Paulson Stadium for their first ever home FBS game, hosting Savannah State before a crowd of over 23,000, the 6th largest in school history. First game at Paulson for Willie Fritz. The Eagles going to the air early on. Kevin Ellison to Zach Walker, a nice grab. Then it's deja vu as once again Matt Breida starts the scoring for Georgia Southern. Just as he did at NC State, Breida 14 yards, 7-0 Eagles. Didn't take long for the score number 2, Ellison to Contrell Showers, the 43-yard score, and it's 14-0 Georgia Southern. Fabian Upshaw getting significant time under center. Saturday here, he scores his first Georgia Southern touchdown, 21-0. The defense playing solid throughout here. The pass picked off by Deion Stanley, a nice leaping grab. We move to the second, up 21-0, and Upshaw going to the air, and again the showers continue. Cotrellis, another score, this one 43 yards on the throw and catch, 28-0. The Eagles then keep things on the ground. Breida, another touchdown, this one from 1 yard away, 34-0. The defense continues to put on the pressure. Antoine Williams back-to-back sacks. Back on offense, the Eagles rush for 599 yards. The pitch to Monte Crockett, initially ruled out at the 3, but upon further review, touchdown Eagles, 41-0. And then just before the half, the pitch to Devin Scott for the 1 yard score. And at the half, the Eagles already with a 48-0 lead. Still plenty to cheer about in the second half despite the crowd dwindling. Izzy Ute in at quarterback. He hands to Brandon Thomas, who breaks off a nice 35-yard run inside the 5. From there, the give to Ian Days. He's in for the touchdown, 55-0 at this point. More from Days moments later. This time, Days shedding tackles and going 80 yards. A little bit of speed and power from the big fella. He'd have 112 yards himself and 2 touchdowns, 62-0. Back to the ground, and who would have guessed the 2 backs over 100 yards Saturday would be Days and Brandon Thomas, who finished with 117 yards. And this touchdown made it 69-0 in the 4th. Izzy Ute reminds us what a weapon he can be. Flying through the middle, untouched, 37 yards. The Eagles not done yet as Dennis Pritchard becomes the 9th Eagle player to score in the game, and GSU rolls to the 83-9 victory.
Two 2013's been a great year for all of us. Got a couple things ideas. Get out of my office.
Get into TC Outdoors and get out. Hunting season's here and TC Outdoors has everything you need. TC Outdoors, Northside Drive East in Statesboro, or tc-outdoors.com. Your hunting and fishing headquarters.
Thought our guys came out of the box fast and hard. I don't believe we had a turnover in the ball game. Sometimes when you play, we had 92 guys that played tonight, and it's great to get those guys in and work so hard and give them repetitions and give them a little reward for everything they do for Georgia Southern and our football program. But I thought we were clicking in all three cylinders, and I think we came out of the game relatively injury-free. And we're looking forward to the big challenge next week up in Atlanta against Georgia Tech. This is a dream come true for me to coach at this level and play at an institution that has so much pride in their football program. And a student body, I heard we had 8,500 students at the ball game, and you hear about apathy nowadays with young people, and we certainly do not have that here at Georgia Southern. Well, we wanted to get him in during a meaningful part of the game, so it was our plan to put him in the third series. He came in, I thought he played very well. You can see the speed he's got. We're very fortunate that we got a bunch of good quarterbacks. And oftentimes you're hard pressed. I've had years where I didn't have one, much less three. So we're excited about Kevin and Fabian, and then Izzy, I thought, came in, and even though we weren't able to showcase his talents and throw the ball with him, I thought he did a very good job of milking the clock and running the ball and giving it when he needed to give it and pull it and pitch it when he needed to do that as well. We always hope for this, that's what you're playing for, come out and play really well. We felt like we had a better ball club than Savannah State watching the tape, but you got to go out and execute and you got to do it. And I think our guys did a good job and not overlook. I've had a lot of people tell me, Coach, can't overlook you. We won't ever overlook anybody. I've been in this business too long to ever overlook anybody. So I thought our guys came out and performed in a game that probably they were expected to win by a wide margin.
It was amazing. We had a great turnout tonight. I came to one game last year, and there was nothing compared to this with the whole upper deck and whatnot. And the crowd, they stayed a long time, and it was just it always helps whenever you got support from your student body and your friends.
Coach talked to me about it early in the week. He was saying about I'll probably get in the third series, and then depending on how the game went, me and Kevin would roll in and out. Loved it. All the fans came out there. I think they said we were like 23,000 or something like that. We got to fill up that mid deck up there. It was really loud.
It's exciting. I'm not gonna lie. This is completely different from the last time around in Paulson, and it's almost a surreal feeling. I like being out there, being out there on the field, seeing the fans, hearing that whose house, our house. It's like no other place in America. I'm not gonna lie. I've been pretty much everywhere, and Paulson, it's just there's no experience like it. Just really using this game to springboard us to the next week. We got to come out and have a strong showing. We came out. I felt like we were prepared. We made a big improvement from last week. And it's just a big win for us.
It feels great, and people might look at the score and think, oh, they kind of beat them pretty bad, but, it's college football, and every victory, it counts. It's hard to win a college football game.
The fans, we got to open up the new stadium, and everyone got to see the football team, the new program, and everything moving to the Division I level. So it was big for us to go out and put on a show today and show the fans that we're capable of doing this in the Division I level, and we appreciate their support for showing up today and filling up the top deck and the whole stadium, so we appreciate that.
If the clothes make the man, the surf shop makes him better. Find the look that's all yours. With a wide selection of only the best brands for gentlemen, it can be a very bonding experience. The Surf Shop at your service.
Well, Matt, before we go, we have to talk about the atmosphere here at Paulson Stadium, the 6th largest crowd of all time. You have the upper decks. You have, the guys wearing red, white, and blue. Just the overall atmosphere here, your thoughts on how things were for Georgia Southern.
Really start until, I guess, halftime when the stands started emptying out a little bit because it was getting out of hand. You start with the Eagles on the field, the stars and stripes painted in the end zones. You had the red, white, and blue for Military Appreciation Day. The ball being parachuted in with the American flag at the beginning. A great crowd. And I'll tell you what, that upper deck, it looks bigger in person than it does in real life, than it does in photos. But when you pack folks in there and they start cheering, it's just night and day. It's a world of difference.
All right, well, next up for Georgia Southern, a familiar foe as far as the head coach goes, but the first ever meeting between Georgia Southern and Georgia Tech.
Yeah, Georgia Tech is going to be, I think, out for blood. They want to make a statement against Georgia Southern. They don't want to make this thing close, but I think Georgia Southern has some confidence going on the road to an ACC team, suffering that 1-point loss, and then pretty much doing whatever they wanted to on offense and defense in the first half anyway against Savannah State. It's going to be a confident bunch of Eagles, and, we'll see what happens.
All right, that game scheduled for a noon kickoff in Atlanta, Georgia Tech and Georgia Southern. For Matt Yogus, I'm Josh Aubrey. Thanks for joining us. Hope to see you again next week.